Hello team, welcome back to another Line War cast. This is your map today in a 1v1 between WelcomeTo in blue and Dåseåbneren in red. This is game 2 in the lower bracket finals. And I wonder if from the previous videos that have been posted on the channel, you'll notice that sometimes I do game 2 and sometimes I do game 3 of series. So in this one, I'm not going to say who won game 1. But I'll just let it be that whoever wins this game wins the series. I don't know who actually wins, personally. But I do know that there's only 2 games submitted for this series, and this is the second one. WelcomeTo is opening up with 3 factories, all building tanks, and an airport behind the mountain range. And Dåseåbneren to the north, only 1 airport at the moment, building helicopters. Second factory goes, or rather the first factory goes down, second building for red. And a town on the coast. Barracks in the north, which will be nice for red to start capping to the left hand side. You can see Dåseåbneren putting down those lines in anticipation right now. And very likely we'll also see helicopters from blue out of the airport. I don't know what happened in game 1 in this series. I don't know if either player is making a specific adjustment for the second game. A nice little lumber camp for Dåseåbneren, and then the second factory. And no barracks yet for WelcomeTo. Top down, this is the map. Not that many land territories. A handful, rather, I mean a bunch of trade routes to the left-hand side in the middle of the map. And 2 trade routes on the right-hand side. There's a decent amount of energy. I'm not sure. There's a chance that either player will make a dock on the right-hand side. But I wouldn't be surprised if we got all the way through this and no boats were over there. I know there's a conversation in the Discord the other day about the excitement for cylindrical maps. Just like a Pac-Man style map. So if you went over, you know, through the water there, you would pop out over here. And that would change everything, of course. And then I would think like absolutely both players would want to dock. So, I mean, that'll be an exciting change. When and if we get there in Line War. I know it's something that's on the long-term roadmap. But the next thing's AI, and we cannot wait for that. So this is the first little bit of action in the game. 1 helicopter from Dåseåbneren, working on 3 tanks. Tanks in general are going to be not the thing to use in a forest against infantry. Infantry get an attack and defense bonus in the forests and a movement bonus, I believe. No, it's every unit gets a movement bonus, or like a slowdown. But the tanks are way slower through the forest. And because the infantry are a little bit better, these aren't like the greatest fights for the tanks to take. In general, the tanks would be better suited to go along the open field and then try to, you know, go behind enemy lines in a lot of ways. We'll see what WelcomeTo's plan is, and at the same time, maybe WelcomeTo just knows that, you know, tanks are very strong, so maybe they just can take this, and blue wants to just push the most direct route. This is WelcomeTo's vision, sending out the interceptor for a scout, which I really like. Interceptors have phenomenal vision and they detect a lot of different things, so if blue can get it over there, then they're going to see all of the buildings that Dåseåbneren has made at this point. So far, like, losing 1 tank, I would have thought more tanks would have gone down by this point. So WelcomeTo doing a decent job. This 1 SAM, if it can get into the forest and cover against this helicopter, would be nice. There's no other SAMs on the way for WelcomeTo. And it's just 1 interceptor. So the blue interceptor did get a scout of all the buildings that are going on and the locations. And I suppose it's blue who has to be a little bit defensive in this. I mean, WelcomeTo has made pretty decent progress on the bottom. This is a healthy number of infantry to be capping when it comes to like capping efficiency. So I like that for WelcomeTo over time. The Sam getting super aggressive, that was actually pretty cool. Just like Renegade Sam running into the forest like that. Okay, so in all of that being said about how tanks shouldn't fight in the forest, WelcomeTo is set up pretty well here with 5 tanks now. 6 tanks, rather. only losing one of the tanks. So this is a good blob. I don't know what sort of adjustment Dåseåbneren's going to make. Red might just assume that building more helicopters just over time will be able to deal with all these tanks. I want to see if Blue tries to run the tanks around because WelcomeTo knows the layout of the base. And one refinery still for Blue. Second refinery on the way. That's perfect timing, I think. Once you get past like 6 tanks, you generally need a second refinery unless you're very smart about only running a handful of tanks at a time in little groups. But that takes a lot more planning. I find it impossible to do. If I'm building tanks, I'm moving them all at once in a big blob. That is the skill level. 500 income for Blue, 541 for Red. With the intense line war soundtrack music going on. And so, long term, Blue's gonna take all of this. It'd be super sweet if Blue could somehow get over here and delay against Dåseåbneren trying to take that peninsula, because a lot of the trade routes complete by having that town. But I would say as long as Dåseåbneren can take this peninsula, then both players will have a very good fighting chance in this game. Based on how, you know, the division of the map. And city-wise, there's one in the north, one in the south. So I suppose Dåseåbneren would have 2 cities in that sort of split map situation. But then WelcomeTo would have more trade routes and maybe a little bit more territory. Hard to say. This is quite the split push. And a very nice thing for WelcomeTo is these 2 interceptors, which are doing a great job to, at the very least, distract the helicopters. Is it 4 missiles? 4 missiles? 5 missiles against the helicopter? I guess that's still not enough. Really? That helicopter is very close to being dead, but getting out with both the interceptors is probably the more important thing for WelcomeTo. And so Blue does get out of there. This is an enormous gas snipe by Blue. That refinery going down is huge because it's going to stop all these helicopters from Red for flying. There's no second refinery for Dåseåbneren. This is a very strong multi-prong attack from WelcomeTo. Because they're both very high value targets that the Blue tanks are just, you know, ripping towards. It's the refinery which stops all the planes, and then this town is... If Blue takes this town, then I believe Blue will be ahead in eco. 537 for Red and 564 for Blue. Wait, so WelcomeTo's pulled ahead in the time that we last checked. But this would be very bad for Red. And the tanks are still going, and now there's no helicopters to defend. So the response to this is going to be 2 barracks right away for Dåseåbneren. I actually kind of like that idea. There's no way you're going to be able to build artillery or SAMs to counter these tanks. It's just going to be infantry at this point. And although these 2 tanks are damaged, they're not on fire yet. Once they get... Okay. I thought that the graphic would always go to like these little flames on them before they're really low health. I don't think this tank's going to get this town now. Yeah, okay. Nice try though. Still a very strong attack. Dåseåbneren has 2 SAMs, which is sort of enough to deal with two strikers and 2 interceptors and 2 helicopters. But now we're getting like a SAM on SAM battle. Okay, 1 interceptor goes down. You don't often see this, just 4 SAMs, 2 on different teams, duking it out beside an airport. The barracks now are up for Red, which you can clearly see. I don't need to point this out. But that is very good for Dåseåbneren in order to stop like a further attack. I think Red has stabilized at this point, and the total damage is 594 income for Blue, 547 for Red. And a refinery for Red that only now completes. WelcomeTo's follow-up is going to be 2 more factories, which indicates like very heavy aggression. I think if it was more of an eco direction Blue wanted to take, potentially there'd be some like towns built down in the south, maybe even a dock I think would be more of a defensive plane. play, so I mean, let's see what WelcomeTo does. There's 2 refineries. These could easily be tanks that are built. They very well might be artillery pieces and SAMs, though. It's tanks. I like it. I mean, if we look at the map, there are 2 refineries here for red, one of which is taken, right? But WelcomeTo knows that this one doesn't exist. I think the tanks would have seen that because it's not in the forest. It doesn't have a stealth bonus. And so maybe blue's calculation is that red just won't have the sort of units to deal with more of a heavy tank play. Yeah, so helicopters, they do the most damage with those missiles, so very good pickup from blue. It's an interesting, scrappy game. I wonder if the play from WelcomeTo is to use these interceptors to try to snipe the refinery. I mean, interceptors don't do a lot of damage against ground units, but if enough stuff is out of position and the interceptors could just get in and get out quick, kind of an interesting idea for all you interceptor players out there. Which I think interceptors are one of the more difficult units to use in the game effectively, just 'cause they have such low health. Die to Sam super quick. Love this play from Dåseåbneren. Good pickup. I mean, Red's vision is this, so Dåseåbneren also knows what's up in this game, that there's 5 factories here. And Red's gonna go for it. We'll likely get one of the factories, and then I think it'll just depend on when Red wants to back up. We might see Red back up and do a dig-in, or just a grouping up of units. The problem about dig-ins, especially against tanks, is that tanks are just so quick they'll go around the entrenchment, so it's not... There's no choke point here or anything, so it's sort of an awkward situation, I think, for Red. The one hope, I think, for Dåseåbneren is getting down the right-hand side. I mean, there are 7 infantry, or 6 infantry here with an artillery piece. And they might even be able to kill this helicopter, because it's going to land right beside them in true helicopter fashion. So it's going to be 7 tanks and 2 SAMs, or rather 8 tanks and 2 SAMs, maybe a handful of helicopters, but it's entirely SAM tank out of the factories. This cycle is entirely tank. And tanks are the pound for pound best unit to make in just a ground fight. No question about it. It's not even close. If you have the energy to just go for mass tank, it is the strongest army, you know, like it's for a reason. Last meta was very strong on tanks. Now that they received a little bit of a nerf, we don't see it as often, like as automatic in games. But they of course still have their weaknesses, and they are fighting in a forest against infantry, which have those aforementioned bonuses. And more importantly to the matter is that the second refinery is just sniped. I kind of just glossed over that, but that's a really big pickup from Dåseåbneren, who would be able to see it. Because this is Dåseåbneren's vision. Refineries have anti-stealth, so you can see them from farther off. Such an interesting setup. I feel like having boats here... I don't know if either player would want to build a dock, but if you could control this little lake thing... Someone who knows geography would be able to tell me that this is not a lake by definition. I don't know, inlet? Bay? If you could control this, it I think would be very strong. There's also a refiner right here that somebody could take with enough boats protecting the coast. But it's such a close game, so it's hard to want to afford a dock at this point. This is really good. I mean, it sort of functions as the same thing that Dåseåbneren's doing by having the SAMs controlling that point. 648 income for red, 744 for blue. And this is a huge play from WelcomeTo. To have that one tank to snipe those 2 SAMs. And top down, WelcomeTo's nearly started to, you know, to control the entire bottom part of the map. So blue could start ecoing at some point as long as this situation like stabilizes to a degree. So I think overall, blue is in the better position, and we see that reflected with the money as well. So SAM count's pretty low for red. This is good for WelcomeTo. The good thing for red though is that there's just so many helicopters that they have that swarming effect where they can just take down a SAM so quickly. And what a fight. Very interesting game. This, I think, changes the entire dynamic. Because one of the risks to tanks is, I said energy, right? As long as you have the energy, but if you don't, these tanks can't move. Every time that they have that black smoke that pops out, they take increased damage for 5 seconds. Refinery's nearly done for WelcomeTo, but there's probably still at least another 10 seconds before it finishes. And so WelcomeTo's response is to build some SAMs for a cycle instead of the tanks. And these infantry are doing their job. Getting to the next refinery. They're going to show up and see 2 blue infantry, but that'll be fine for the 4 red ones. 774 income for blue, 690 for red. And Dåseåbneren gets the eco. Hard to tell. That's why we watched it, I guess. I mean, there's a second airport for WelcomeTo. If these 2 refineries can get set up with a third refinery, blue's gonna need a third refinery. I guess not yet. There's not that many helicopters that are left. 2 planes. 2 helicopters and 3 interceptors. Tank interceptor is still a very strong composition. So if WelcomeTo can get set on it. I have no idea who wins this game. This is very close. I think Dåseåbneren's in the better position though with the momentum, just because this refinery is going to be destroyed again. So there is one final refinery for blue, but there's no more tanks for WelcomeTo. It's not like there's a ton of planes either. Okay, so blue's now taken the entire south, save this one territory that's about to complete. Dåseåbneren takes that refinery out for a second time. Might even be the third time, is what it feels like. And Dåseåbneren's also making the famous 300 a minute on money, which has been theorized in Discord to be the most, like, you know, a good benchmark or like rule of thumb for how much money to be making. So you're constantly growing. 765 total capital income. And WelcomeTo's not doing too bad at 228 a minute. That's, I mean, I'm very satisfied if I look up in the top right and see that when I'm playing. An 824 total capital. And now has one of the refineries back. Dåseåbneren's going to be the first one to get a dock. And so I think that's a good investment for red, but it is an investment. It will take a while to pay off, not only to just build the dock, but then to build the not one missile boat, not really enough with how many planes there are because you don't want to get sniped. So like 2 or 3 missile boats, it's going to take a while. And WelcomeTo's got 3 SAMs, which is good enough against 4 helicopters. Unless they take a straight up fight. They already get 1 of the helicopters. And they won't get a second, even though that was a crazy long shot. Still interceptor helicopter for WelcomeTo. And Dåseåbneren has a transport plane on the way with commandos. There's going to be a commando drop into this forest, which will give that'll be a lot of headache for WelcomeTo when there's a handful of commandos for Dåseåbneren running around by those refineries and just trying to take little proxy bases and be annoying as possible. But Dåseåbneren's got to start grouping up at some point, and that's, I think, what we're seeing. Because there's enough units here for blue that very quickly this one barracks can go down and then maybe another barracks. And this is the sort of army that I think could catch it by surprise, especially as these 4 artillery pieces, if they got into the fight. And along this front, blue's got the momentum. It's certainly a missile boat. Yeah, it's a missile boat for Dåseåbneren. I love this for WelcomeTo. 2 more towns to get even a further ahead on eco. 824 income for blue and 839 for red. So I said a further ahead. I thought that blue would still be ahead. But with those 2 towns completing, I think blue will. There's really no SAMs for Dåseåbneren, so the helicopters are doing pretty good. And if there's any more eco, WelcomeTo could probably just build that. If the idea is that if you're winning all your fights, build eco, sort of deal. But I guess there's no real good thing for WelcomeTo to take. There's these 2, but they're on the water and it's kind of scary. Because Dåseåbneren could have a boat. Okay, first missile boat's done, and here comes the transport plane taking 2 commandos off to drop into this forest. And that's the situation. Top down, this is what it is. Blue has a little bit more territory. And at 824 eco, still has about 50 less than red. But this is really bad. This is really bad for Dåseåbneren losing these 2 lumber camps. It would seem at this point that this commando drop has to do very well for Dåseåbneren, because this will be hard to even hold just as a push. The missile boats that are showing up will be very big. At the very least for the interceptors, who will have to kind of come close to this bay if they want to land. The nice thing for the map is that the airports are facing to, what is this, the northwest. So the planes come back to land in the direction of these arrows. So if it was the other way around, then the planes would have to come this way, which would be even better. But I mean, I still think missile boats are going to change how this goes. I think it'll be very good for Dåseåbneren, and that's what I mean. Like, look at these arrows. So the transport plane knows that, like, well, the way I land at this airport is I fly over this, all this battle. And you can see why it is that way. But just an interesting tidbit about it. The planes always land in the direction of the arrows. Helicopters going, looking, or rather, almost said helicopters. Helicopters that go down look so good. Shouts out to Infenzia for the ragdoll physics that were released in the last patch or something like that 2 patches ago. This is a lot of artillery and tanks. And these commandos are going to show up and see a bunch of blue infantry, unfortunately for them. Okay, so 2 missile boats, they at least destroyed 1 thing, but Dåseåbneren is now starting to lose a lot of producers. And now this PTSD action of a gas snipe happening again. Two missile boats, I think that's the perfect amount to leave there, and then Dåseåbneren is going to use another boat to try to attack a town. But it would appear that WelcomeTo's just done it. Off of what remains is 4 factories and 5 barracks. And 2 airports full of interceptors and helicopters. Very close game. I think that was one of the closer games that I've casted in a while. Lower bracket finals. So the grand finals will be Someone Said That My Nickname Sucks playing WelcomeTo. And enormous congratulations to Sovereign for a very solid third place. This has been a very long tournament. It's taken multiple months. I personally like it that way. I think it's been almost more exciting that way, playing more like a league. But well played to both. Yeah, 3 tanks. That's impossible to defend at this point. Because there's no energy, and the infantry aren't going to be able to move as quick. An eco at 847 for red. 944 for blue. I really like this play from the docks. Or the dock, rather, from Dåseåbneren. Felt like an extremely close game. It just changed very quickly at the end there. Which is, I suppose, like a lot of Line War games, how they go. But if you want to watch this replay yourself, you can check out the Tournament Replays channel in the Discord. Just copy that replay name, go to the replays section in Line War, paste it in, and you can check it out yourself. That and tons of other replays. GG. Well played both. I felt like this was very close. Maybe did I misread this? No, this was extremely close. This is a very close game. Interesting. Well played both again. Good luck to WelcomeTo in the grand finals. Congratulations to Sovereign, 3rd place. That's a Discord tag. That's a badge of honor in the Line War Discord, which again you can go join. Check it out. Talk to people. Ask questions. All sorts of things. Very excited for AI. Sounds like sort of getting close potentially. Still no dates, but progress. And yeah. Someone said that my nickname sucks against WelcomeTo is the grand final. I think I'll try to cast all the games from the grand final. It's a best of... it's double elimination bracket means that... How does this go again? So nickname has a lead. Nickname gets a bonus point essentially for not losing to this point, not being knocked down to the lower bracket. So in the first best of 3, if nickname wins it, then nickname is the winner of the tournament. Or if it's a best of 5, I don't know exactly how it works. But if nickname wins that, nickname wins the whole tournament. And then if WelcomeTo wins the first best of 3 when nickname and WelcomeTo play, then they play another best of 3. And that is the final best of 3. Every player is allowed to lose 1 best of 3, essentially, is how it works in a double elimination bracket. Just hopefully that made sense. Anyway, hope you have a wonderful night, day, evening, breakfast, lunch, dinner, whatever it is. Folks, enjoy. Peace. Good luck.